Y'all, Mercury retrograde is in full effect for everybody and for us here at the Sisters. Woo, enchanted. I'm moving my feet around and my microphone just fell on me. Speaking of which, I got to check and make sure my microphone is on. It is on. All good. Welcome to this live recording of the Expedition to Soul podcast. If you're listening to this live recording in our app, welcome back. Welcome back, y'all. We had a little not rough. We just weren't live in all the places that we usually go live. So we restarted this podcast. So good morning. The topic of today's Expedition to Soul podcast is, do you have the skills to listen when your soul starts to speak? That is what we're talking about today. Do you have the skills to listen when your soul starts to speak? And this is a great opportunity to combine a little Mercury retrograde action for you with what we're going to talk about today, which I wasn't going to talk about until Mercury retrograde has triple punched Team TSC a little bit recently. And I think that these Mercury retrograde, for those of you who don't know, it's when Mercury, the planet, appears to be going backwards in the sky. Now, it's not really doing that. It just appears that way. And that is the key to understanding Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde, you'll hear all about like things going haywire and stuff not working and breaking and don't do this and that during Mercury retrograde. But it's all about appearances and what appears to be happening. And here at Team TSC, we've had like just some odds and ends tech things happening. And what we could say, Mercury retrograde, all these problems, work harder and faster. And I think what our soul self as a collective Team TSC is telling us is to slow the F down. We all need to take a breath and slow down, because that's what Mercury retrograde does. It's an appearance of something happening. And this ties wonderfully into what we're going to talk about today, because do you have the skills to listen when your soul is speaking? And your soul will speak during Mercury retrograde if there's a lesson you need to learn, if there's something that you need to see. Welcome in. If you're new here, I'm Sarah, founder of the Sisters Enchanted. We've been bringing magic online since 2016 to thousands and thousands of people all around the world. And what we're talking about today is reclaiming your energy. When you start to reclaim your energy, your soul will start to speak. And do you have the skills to listen? Do you have the skills to listen? Before we get into that, Magic Week is happening. It begins October 7th. It is a 5-day virtual, it's a mix of a class, a workshop, a life-changing endeavor. It's $13. $13. Lucky number 13 for spooky season. I 10 out of 10 recommend you register. I'll tell you more about it at the end. October 7th. Mark your calendars. Magic Week starts. We want to see you there. All right. Let's start this off with what is reclaiming your energy. Let's get started. What is reclaiming your energy? This is a practice we talk about here at the Sisters Enchanted. And the idea is that your energy is spread very, very thin. Some of you watching this, you might be like, yes, head nod. I agree. My energy is spread very, very thin. If you care for other people, if you work outside the home, maybe you're home and you have chronic illness, and that's a thing that it consumes your energy every day. All of us have things going on in our personal lives, in the world around us, that takes some of our energy. Every experience that we have, every interaction that we have, our energy is attaching to it. Just like I like to use a Spider-Man picture for this, like Spider-Man, Spidey shooting the webs out, right? Every interaction we have, we are shooting those webs out. And it is imperative that we pause throughout the day to collect them back again, to take back what is ours and release what is everybody else's. This is a thing that takes time. It takes getting used to. And you definitely have to make a practice of it. And you can do this simply by visualizing, like literal, like I'm bringing my spider webs back in again. I'm bringing my energy back in again. And I'm pushing everything else out. Or I'm sweeping with my hands everything out of my energy, and only what's left is mine. You can do this through visualization, through breath work, with crystals, whatever you want to do, whatever makes it a great practice for you. but it's about reclaiming what is yours and pushing out everybody else's. When you start to do this and you start to really feel into it and you make a practice of it and you get more and more used to it, you'll start to get more intuitive. Your intuition will speak louder. Your inner knowing will speak louder. And though so often we don't have the skills to listen to that inner knowing because we haven't been taught them. We're very used to, I just said that really weird, taught them. We haven't been taught those skills. We are very used to somebody telling us what to do, to, like following all the directions and doing the next right thing per some other standard. So, reclaiming your energy is the first step to opening the gateway to really understanding yourself, really hearing yourself. For some people, for the first time in a long time, but do you have the skills to listen to that knowing, to that hearing? When you don't listen, it can look like overwhelm. It can look like anxiousness, indecision. Like we use the word enchanted here, a completely disenchanted sort of life, an unaligned life, a life that doesn't feel like, like you're shining in any way or like it was truly meant for you. These are all ways of being that we experience when we aren't really listening to what our body is telling us, what our energy is telling us, what our higher selves are telling us. So we want to reclaim our energy and then begin to develop the skill of hearing when our soul selves speak. What makes this so hard, though, is that throughout a day in our lives, we're being pulled in 100 million different directions. You might reclaim your energy, open your eyes, and then your phone is ringing, or you get a text message, or if you have kids, your child's school is calling, or somebody asks you what it is that you're going to have for dinner tonight for the 894th day in a row. You have to answer that what is for dinner tonight question. And suddenly your energy is not yours once again. And this is what makes it so challenging and why creating a practice and a rhythm of coming back to yourself is so, so, so important. And it is a skill that you learn over time. If you are on our email list, we've been sending out free Season of the Witch gifts every week. The third gift arrived on the link today, and I'll email it out later on this afternoon or this evening. And the gift last week was images that you could take a screenshot of and put on a cell phone or maybe a tablet. It's built really for a cell phone screen. And there are affirmations on these images that you can use to remind yourself of how brave you are and unconditionally loving yourself. And these little bits and pieces that can help us to remember to be present, come back into our own selves, and trust in our knowing to begin to listen to it again. So if you have access to that link, if you've been getting the emails, be sure to grab those and screenshot them and put them on your phone or wherever might be useful, or rewrite them on sticky notes and put them in your house. Because telling ourselves these statements again and again and again is one way to really solidify in our brains that our soul selves are speaking and we are worthy of listening. And we can consider our energy, how the world around us is impacting that energy, and how it is that we are going to come back to ourselves. When you reclaim your energy and you learn the skill of listening to what your inner self is saying, it becomes faster and faster and faster and easier and easier and easier to create change in your life, to create momentum, to bring into being whatever your future vision is through the practice of really reclaiming your energy and practicing the act of trusting yourself intuitively to hear what your soul self is saying. Like I said, it really is a practice because so often we might get confused about, is it my ego speaking or is it my intuition speaking? Is this my higher self, or am I just really sick of this damn job and I want to quit? and I'm taking something as a sign, but it's pretty ego driven. It can be challenging to differentiate between those things, and it really takes time to learn that. It's not something that one learns overnight, but we learn it through practice. We implement through practice. Working with the moon cycles is one way to do this. Understanding your energy centers and the stories that you're holding in your energy centers that might be keeping you from really hearing your truest self and living in alignment versus your ego or what somebody else is telling you. That's another way to build the skill of hearing your soul self speaking. Working with grounding tools and elements like crystals, seashells, river stones, just acorns, rocks from your backyard or your favorite park, working with these kinds of elements to ground ourselves in the present moment rather than some other world wherein we're reenacting every mistake we've ever made in our lives. Working with those tools can help us to be more present and hear ourselves speaking. But the first step is really that idea of reclaiming your energy, because without reclaiming who you are, your true energetic connection to what's going on around you, and really releasing everybody else's stuff, whatever it is that you're thinking, you're living, your being is going to be impacted by all of that other stuff. Listen, I'm a business owner. I have teammates who work with me who are like they're my very best friends and like family. And we also work together. I have family who works with me. I have 2 young kids who I homeschool with. They both have social, emotional learning differences. I love to say that I'm mostly happily married. No, my husband's awesome and we aren't without struggles. And so I am right there with you in the thick of life, wherein there's all of this other stuff happening that my energy is connected to every single day. And in order to really hear what is the next right step for me, it's the practice of reclaiming my energy and then using practices like working with the moon, doing shadow work, going through my energy centers, working on the capacity of energy centers to hold more joy, to hold more unconditional love for the people in my life who might be taking my energy without meaning to hold space for others and my own self, to trust myself. So doing that shadow work, working with energy, working with amazingly grounding tools, or working with some salt and some moon water and maybe mirrors and reflecting work to see like what I'm trying to reflect back to myself. All of these really cool practices that we can do to help understand what is actually happening for us and to learn what it is that we are saying to ourselves internally. What is the message we have for our own selves rather than looking outwards and outside of ourselves for this message. And it really begins, though, with reclaiming your energy and saying, that's everybody else's stuff. It's not my stuff. That is everybody else's stuff. What do I need right now to move forward and begin the process of building the skill to hear what it is that my soul self is saying? I will say too that, and I've said this many a time before, if you've ever listened to one of our live videos or podcasts, or if you're in any of our courses or programs, if you're in Holistic Witchery or Enchanted Journey, you've certainly heard me say this, that our world, we weren't taught to follow our own true north. We weren't taught to hear our own inner knowing and follow that beat of that drum, right? We're taught to do certain things, stand in line, raise our hands, like in so many ways we're taught to do these exact steps as we age up in society, and for a lot of reasons. There's a lot of humans on this earth. There are so many of us, and without some kind of structure, who knows who knows what's going to happen. So I fully understand why these things occur. I was a public school teacher. I understand why kids got to stand in line and raise their hands. Don't get me wrong, I do. And it's also true that those things don't teach us to really hear our own needs. They don't teach us to hear, what does my body need right now? What does my soul need right now? And that's the action I'm going to take. So both things are true. It's true that it's needed, and it's also true that it does dim our light, and it does not teach us to hear what it is that our soul selves are saying and what path we need to take and how to move forward. Both of those things are true at the same time. And I'm assuming everybody watching this here are listening in on the podcast. When it goes live on our podcast player, I'm assuming that we are all adults. And as adults, we do have agency to relearn what it is to hear our own soul self sing and what that song is saying, and then to act on it. And it takes time, and it takes retraining who we are, which is what I love about what we do in our programs like Holistic Witchery, because we do it and we give you different invitations to learn how to do this. There's not one right way. And there's all of these tools you can use to bring this back into your life again. But it starts with reclaiming your energy, which is as easy as taking pause, several times throughout your day to say, what is mine and what is everybody else's? I love the visualization of spider webs and like I'm just retracting my energy back in because I see it as that I'm attaching energy to other people, right? I like to look at this as people aren't forcing themselves upon me. I'm open to receiving it. I'm the one not holding the boundary, or I'm the one who's like inviting this in. Because I really truly believe we cannot control other people. We can't change other people. We can only focus on ourselves. So I look at this as how I've attached intentionally or unintentionally, and then reeling that back into myself, reclaiming it, cleaning it off, and just keeping it there for me and touching base with who am I? What is going on right now? What is it that I need to know right now? And then moving forward and doing that again and again and again. And it's a great way too to just bring yourselves back to center and peace during the day when the whole world could be on fire around you. Uh, all right. So, do you have the skills to listen? Most of us don't, and it takes time to listen. And the signs that we're not listening would be overwhelm. I think a sense of just generalized anxiousness about day to day activities, which is different, I think, than diagnosed anxiety. I'm talking about those sense of butterflies constantly over what's next to come, but we're still functioning, right? That's what I'm talking about. Just feeling disenchanted by life, sort of like there's got to be more. There's got to be more. My life is okay, but there's got to be something else around the corner. Those feelings, when we have those feelings, it's time to start listening to your soul self speaking and building the skill to listen to it. And it starts with reclaiming your energy. Mercury retrograde is playing games right now. So if you're a person who has things happening in your life and you're like, blame it on Mercury, remember that's all about perception. We perceive that Mercury is doing something that it's not actually doing. And so the things that are happening in your life, what is your perception of them and how can you change it to see it in another way? What could you be doing differently? As I said, Mercury's been playing tricks on Team TSE. And I think it's a great call for us to take a breath, slow down, refresh, start anew, and it's all going to be good. And it's probably telling you the same thing too, if I'm being honest. I think Mercury tells all of us that. Like, what do we need to say no to so that we can say yes to the things that are important and make space for them? All right. So that is what today's topic is about. I do see one question here in my comments that's a little too much to answer here on the live recording of the podcast. But the question is working with a mirror. How do I do that? There are so many, many ways to work with a mirror that I could record like an entire class on it. But in terms of what we're talking about here today, reclaiming your energy and starting to hear yourself saying, using like a pocket mirror and holding it in front of you and just looking at it and doing this visualization of bouncing your energy back to yourself. That's a really great practice of use a mirror for reclaiming your energy because you're reflecting yourself back to yourself. I think when you hold up that mirror, you can also ask the question, like, what's the first thought when you look in that mirror, right? And that could be an amazing gateway to shadow work. The first thought you think about yourself when you look in the mirror. Of course, you can also use mirrors to reflect energy back out. We can use mirrors as this idea of like a cleansing water. Mirrors have a connection to water in some ways, also reflecting the moon. And and also for divination purposes. Like I said, this can be a whole class just on that. Which gets me thinking about Enchanted Journey 2023 because I'm currently mapping out all the things and I should add that on there because there is a lot to talk about there for sure. All right. So ask yourself today, what can I do to reclaim my energy? And make sure that you are checking out the free Season of the Witch gifts that we are sending out in email. The third one is live on that link if you happen to have the link. And I'm emailing it out later today once we have the blog post for today's episode all written out. That will all go out later on today, this evening. Sometime by midnight, the end of this day, East Coast time, I will get that out. And you'll have the third gift for today, which is a guide on Mercury and communication. So there's a link where you can look up your Mercury sign and it'll tell you a little bit about your communication. a pro, a con, a shadow, and a light, because there's a shadow and a light to every zodiac and every planet and every element of your birth chart. So that is your gift today. Last week's is the wallpapers that you can screenshot for a cell phone, and they have different affirmations on them. And I heard from a whole bunch of people who are already using them. And there's one for the lower energy centers, one for the heart, and then one for the upper energy centers. So depending sort of what you want to focus on, you can pick the one you want to use, and they're all right there for you. So you can screenshot all three and rotate them out if you'd like. Before I let you go, I want to remind you to register for Magic Week if you haven't done so yet. This is a class that we're hosting beginning October 7th. This is a class that it is literally, I'm living and breathing it every day as it's coming to life. And what we do is we're going to start on the first day by discovering the expansion archetypes, and you are going to take a quiz to discover your expansion archetype on day 1. From there, the remaining 4 days of the class are going to be a deep dive into your specific result. And we're going to do an activity through live streams where we build a little magical tool around your result. And I am just brimming over with excitement for it, and I cannot wait to get started. The group is already open in our app. If you'd like to register, there's a giveaway opportunity already hopping and popping in the group. I put up a sneak peek at the 5 different archetypes where people could guess which one they would be. And we do have a bring a friend giveaway contest going on. And I put in there today some different graphics that you might want to use to invite your friends on social media or through email to come. And so you can screenshot those and use those. Magic Week is going to be excellent, and I cannot wait to get it started. So you want to check for the link in our Instagram profile. It's in our app. We'll email it out, and I know it's in the comments if you're watching this live. So we'll have it in all the places for you to register for Magic Week if you haven't done so yet. The sooner you get in, the longer you have to use the group. So get on in there and join us in Magic Week. All right, y'all, that is it. Go reclaim your energy, practice. And if you're in the app, I would love to hear if you're in Magic Week, or Enchanted Journey or Holistic Witchery or any of those classes. I would love to hear from you if you want to share what your favorite way to reclaim your energy is. When you share with others, you're going to inspire them to try something they might not have done yet, and give me some new ideas to help others along the way as well. All right, that is it. Again, I'm Sarah, founder of the Sisters Enchanted. Thank you so much for listening in today to today's live podcast recording. And until next time, we hope that you have a very enchanted rest of your day ahead. Bye.